awesome. I bought this antique hovercraft on Facebook Marketplace for $300. Everything is broken, and the previous owner was going to scrap it. Follow along to see if it will ever fly again. This is a stator magneto from a 1970s, basically a snowmobile engine. This is a JLO or ELO Rockwell engine. This specific one is hooked to a 395. It's similar, the same as the 370 models, a 295, because I also have a 295 that looks exactly like this. And this is the stator magneto, which sends power through the blue wire to the coil and ignites a spark plug. Now, the problem I'm having on this one, on both of them actually, is just I continue to lose spark. So I have a major spark issue. I'll get spark, I'll get it to pop off really quickly, and then it just loses spark. It doesn't come back. So I'm going to teach, I was going to say I was going to teach you, but I'm going to teach me because I'm winging this. I already bought 2 condensers and replaced the condensers. Before I replaced the condensers, I had no spark at all. So I couldn't get anything after I replaced the condensers and the coils. So here's the old coil. And then here is one of the new coils. I got this one's from a John Deere. I did find the exact replacement as well, but the John Deere one seems to work just fine. It's got the same connectors, so it works. The way the coil works easily, like I said, the blue wire goes, I believe it's to this terminal, and this terminal just grounds out to the body of the coil, which is mounted to the engine, and that sends spark through this little twisty lug through a 7mm, not an 8mm, 7mm plug wire to the spark plug. Gives a spark. It's pretty simple. As long as you've got fuel, this is sparking. So I want to replace this condenser, which is basically a capacitor, with this photo capacitor. And honestly, AI is what told me that people do this. It said there's forums where they talk about doing this. There was a guy who replaced it apparently with a teeny tiny one. I think he's a boat engine mechanic up in Michigan, but he replaced it with a tiny one. I couldn't find any of those. These, what is there, like 20 in this pack or something like that? A whole bunch of these for $10. So this is 22 microfarads with a 630 volt max capacity. So that I'm going to try. But first thing I did was kind of look through this. The points do look good. I've cleaned them multiple times, and I will clean them again and spray them one more time. But the points are operating as they should. I did have to clean the points. That also helped as well. So other things that they mention. So let's break this down first. So this is the smaller coil or winding from this armature aperture, this magneto. This wire that comes from this one, and I'll show the inside of the plate. So there's a magnetic stator plate. It's got the mechanism that actuates the points. Inside of that are magnets, and the magnets, as they cross these contacts here, it creates an electric field and sends a pulse. So this pulse goes into this capacitor, or the wire from this one goes to the capacitor, and this wire comes over to this little stud lug here on points. So the points stud lug also has this blue wire that actually goes out to the coil, and another black wire, which is this one here. But this black wire is basically the kill wire. So if you ground it, you kill the spark, and you kill the engine, and it won't run. So you'll kill the spark. But I've traced it, and it looks like this wire has not been grounded. So that's one thing you want to make sure where it passes through back here. It's not like bore through or something like that, or it's not been cut through. So it looks like it's fine. But on that magnet plate is one thing I wanted to look at, because I'm concerned that it sits down on here pretty tight, and I didn't try to just cover this with tape. I thought about that because I could be sparking from here and leaking spark from here to that plate, which is a possibility. There's just a tiny bit more space I have here, so I have I could go maybe 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch with this condenser, but I don't think I can go any further. So I don't have much more space to push it in here. It's just pressed in. This one was pressed out. So there's some little crimps here on the edges of this little holder. So the body of this is what grounds it to the plate. So I think they call this a stator plate. And then the bolts and how it's mounted inside in the engine is what grounds it. And then this black wire here obviously comes back to the points, and then as the points open and close, that's what generates the spark, and that's what sends the spark through the lug and back out the blue wire into the coil, thus the spark plug. I almost think that I could completely remove this larger winding, because these two yellow wires are simply 12 volt constant. So this will generate 12 volts, and this will run the lights and accessories on what you're running. So this is just just power wires. So I guess I could technically remove those if I wanted to. But what I did when I got this to initially, at least like I said, pop off, was I cleaned these up here. So I made sure those were clean. One of the things you want to make sure, so here there's a little bit of corrosion on the back of the points here, but I don't think this portion of the points, so here, I don't think that's a big deal, because I don't think that grounds to the body. I think this bolt here grounds to it, and that bolt looks pretty clean. So I think to get that off, I'd have to take the screw out and then pop off the snap ring, and then it would probably slide right up. But these look clean, so I'm not worried about that. But I'm going to remove these two wires, put them together, and then run one wire to one side of this capacitor, and then the other side of the capacitor is going to be run to ground. So that is what I'm going to do. I don't know if I have room in here to do that, so that's definitely an issue. I may run another wire out with these wires and connect it that way, and connect it outside of the engine, especially for testing purposes. But the first thing I really need to do is unsolder this connection and then connect those wires together. All right, well, I've changed my mind here at the last minute. I don't want to run a long wire out to the capacitor and then back. I just don't want to do it. So I'm going to knock this condenser out, which is, all right, that's easier than I thought. The first condenser did not come out easy at all, and you do risk, something happening to the condenser, breaking it. So light, such a little. This one's heavy. It's weird, but you do risk, breaking it, hurting it, doing something to the condenser. So go ahead and remove that. And now I can connect this one, or even solder. I'm going to solder this one in now. Solder these ends together, and then connect the other wire to ground somewhere. Well, I guess we're going to see. There are a lot of ways to do this. I thought about taking one of the ends here and actually wrapping that around this bolt. Like I said in the beginning, I thought about running a cable out and then a wire out and then back in. I think that'd just be too much. Even more work that this capacitor would have to do. I obviously would be afraid of it kind of sticking out the side here and hitting the magnets. So I had to kind of tape it over and bend the wires a little bit. So yeah, but I'm using this as a ground right there, and I guess we'll see what happens. So yeah, it's going to be a trip. Let's go put it on and see if the capacitor is better than this condenser. Now here's the back side of the flywheel that I was talking about earlier, and there's the mechanism here that makes the points close. And one other point to check on these is to make sure you've got strong magnetism, and the magnets are real strong, so I think we're good with that. But I'll put this back on and we'll see if we don't get sparks. See if we can get the best view here without this thing falling over. I don't know if you can see it, but we have consistent sparkles. So I'm gonna hook up fuel, try to make this thing run. I got it. That was awesome. That's all I needed. Man, just a little persuasion. Do it again. Half turn on the adjuster. Heck yeah. All right, let's try this one. Okay, day 3, the last video I got that one, or the last segment I got that one running, and it ran really well, so that was great. And then inclement weather hit, so I took this one off, took it in the garage, and I replaced the condenser with the capacitor in the same exact way. But yeah, this one's running good. So this one I did a little bit differently here. So I took this side of the capacitor, and I actually, just like I think I said in the video, I curved it around this bolt, and I put this bolt in to basically hold it down, and that creates the ground. And this one's taped up and pretty much connected just like the other one, so it fits in there a lot nicer. And we'll see. I'll put this back together and then show you a few things on that other side that are also little tricks with this engine. All right, before I fire this thing up, I want to talk through a few things that I didn't do on this one, or did do on this one, that I did differently on that one. So the first day after I replaced the condenser. On this one, I came back out and cranked and I couldn't get it running, but I found out, just me learning these tillets and carburetors and these old two-strokes, is there was a guy who I watched rebuild one like this, and he just straight removed the choke. And I think I'm going to do the same on this, because if the choke is closed and you don't open it as soon as this thing starts to pop, it will just flood the crankcase with fuel. So that's what all of this here was. This thing flooded the crankcase quite a bit. So there's a vacuum line back here that goes to under the diaphragm here, and it pumps this diaphragm. And when you're cranking, it's pulsing, so it's pushing fuel as you crank. It's not stopping. There's no time frame. So you want to hold the throttle open and then just leave the choke. He said he put his hand over it and let go as soon as it started. That's what I think I'm going to do, but I'm going to remove those. But for now, I've got it just cheated and held open. The other thing that I did on this engine that I didn't do with that engine, so I wanted to verify to be absolutely sure. I took this 7mm solid copper core plug wire. On that one, I didn't test it before, so I cut back 1/4 inch. So there's a little spike in here, and the spike is threaded, and you twist it in here. So what I also did is cut 1/4 inch of the insulator back so that the wire was exposed, and kind of pushed it up a little bit so that it could squish itself against that post and down at the bottom of this this little place for it. And then I twisted it on there. So I did that just to make sure that it was on there the same way that I did that one. And then I cranked. And when I cranked it, it had a spark for a couple times and it quit. Spark for a couple times and quit. So that tells me that the spark was still just not working. So one of the first things I'm going to do here is crank this with the spark plug out and see if we have consistent spark. Yes. Strong, consistent spark. Was not stopping at all. So I'm gonna hook the fuel up. See if we can start this bad boy. And here we go now. All right, well, since this carburetor has gone from flooding to doing nothing, let's go ahead and do an ether. Do an ether blast. It's all ether, by the way. The last time I messed with this engine, we had plenty of fuel, and now we have none. So I don't know why it's going through the little plates it has, and it's going back to the return. But for some reason, the needle is not opening now. Brand new rebuilt carburetor, so not brand new, but super old, took a lot of work, but rebuilt carburetor, somehow the needle's not opening. So yeah, there's that. But you saw it ran good a couple times on ether there. Spark is strong. Replacing those condensers with those capacitors is the trick. So yeah, that's a good trick, and it worked great for me until my carb decided to not carb. But I'm going to go ahead and do those other things with the carbs, and I think it's time to take this thing apart and rebuild it. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully if you're working on some of these old engines, you just learned something that's going to help you. If you're having a problem keeping spark, like, subscribe. There's a bell thing down there. Hit that as well, and we'll catch you on the next one.